guys. So here to give you a little update of my last spiritual retreat that I went on. The healer that I work with ended up hosting a retreat out in Lake Elsinore, so it was close to California. And I hadn't done a lot of medicine this year. I did a video about 2 months back about my Bufo experience, and that should be published or should be listed soon. So it's been about 16 months since I've done Aya in San Pedro, and honestly I didn't really have a calling to even do medicine. I'd been in a really good place in my life this year, probably the best I've ever been mentally. More so I just kind of wanted to be involved in that community. I love being around the people that go there. I love being able to be supportive of others, of their journey, and really just getting to know people on a much deeper level. And also to see my healers that I've worked with for the last 2.5 years and kind of just showcase how much I've changed and you know, show them the impact that they've had on my life and the significant changes they've had on me. So I was supposed to go away for 4 days retreat, but I ended up having a client competing at nationals, so I couldn't go for the first 2 nights so I could take care of him. And about a little over 4 weeks ago, I was out in Arizona and I did Bufo for a second time. If you guys don't know, Bufo is 5-MeO, the toad. They call it the God molecule. And through that experience, you're supposed to completely surrender to a death-like surrender. And my last Bufo experience was pretty intense, because I didn't do Bufo just once. I did Bufo 5 times in a row that day. Literally like supersetting. As soon as I came out, the pipe was to my mouth, right back in, right back in, right back in. And it kind of really fucked with me. And it wasn't even the experience itself of the ego death. It was more so that on a few of the occasions I couldn't surrender, and I really beat myself up over that. It was something that, like, I've never failed at anything. I've never given up on myself on anything. And so for me not to be able to surrender to this, it was pretty traumatic, honestly. I had some like PTSD that went on about it, kind of still. And then on top of that, the medicine kept activating on me. You know, like I'd be in the middle of yoga in Shavasana, or I'd be doing meditation in the morning, and all of a sudden I felt like I was going through that experience, about to go through that experience again. So it was like, I was almost like fearful of getting still. So fast forward, heading into this past Saturday, we were gonna do ayahuasca the first night. And if you guys don't know, I mean, ayahuasca, the journeys can be all over the place. They can be kind of these beautiful, blissful experiences. They can be these dark experiences. You know, the medicine, you know, as they say, the medicine does what it needs to do, what you really need from it, not what you want from it. So going into the evening, I was a little nervous, and Friday night before I left, one of my childhood best friend's mother sent me a Facebook message, and I haven't talked to this woman in 22 years. Like, not even joking. It's been probably 22 years since I've even spoken to her. And the message said, "Brad, come back to your roots. You, Josh, Justin, getting off the bus, coming to my house, cooking up crazy stuff. You guys had so much fun. Come back to your roots." And like, she sent it to me at like almost 2 o'clock in the morning, New Hampshire time, which like, it was this weird fucking cryptic message. So going into Saturday, when I laid there and drank the medicine, I just really tried to fill myself with like positive affirmations, like you are powerful, you are amazing, you know, you are loved. Just to try to like calm my nerves, so I was in more of a positive mindset heading into the ceremony. And what's common with me, what I've found with Aya, is I don't drop in per se. Like, I don't have this really crazy psychedelic experience. I don't have these visuals you know, it's more of a subtlety experience. As I've talked in the past, like one time I was doing medicine and I couldn't drop in, and every time my mind would wander, because I have a racing mind, I would throw up my mouth. And it was like the medicine being like, hey, be here, be present. Just be present, just be present. Literally, like every time my mind would start thinking about, like, this is when I had Dexter getting ready for the Olympia, and I had my other client Tom getting ready for his pro card and all this other stuff. And I'm like stressed about being away from my clients, and I'm like thinking about that. And every time my mind wandered from that moment, I would puke in my mouth and like choke and like have to like come back to center. So again, like the medicine teaches you things, even when you don't think you're getting anything from it. So then I just started having these really like beautiful memories of my childhood, which for me is very rare. I didn't have a bad childhood by any means, but we're all tarnished. We're all triggered by certain things. And in my life, I can only remember the negative part of my childhood. The bad stuff, you know, being abandoned by my father at times, and, you know, things like that. And so that's kind of like the picture that's of my childhood that's been painted is a lot of the negative stuff. And like, it used to like really bother my mom that I couldn't remember a lot of my childhood and a lot of my childhood memories. But then all of a sudden, all these memories of like me, Josh, and Justin, my two best friends having fun in my buddy Justin's backyard, the guy whose mother sent me the message. And like beautiful memories of like me and my mother and my grandmother and my cousins. So I just laid there and I just had all these beautiful memories just coming in, and it was just a very peaceful, loving experience. You know, other people, they had their own journeys. And I was able to be kind of supportive of them throughout theirs, because, you know, at a point I finally just got up and like went out by the fire and just had some conversations with people. So me being very nervous going into Aya turned out to be kind of a positive experience. And then Sunday was a day on San Pedro, and San Pedro is a form of mescaline like peyote. It's a heart opener. It's a masculine medicine, whereas Aya is more of a feminine medicine. But my other three experiences with San Pedro have been just absolutely amazing. It's like you drink this tea and it's a whole day long experience, like 12 plus hours, and it gets activated by food, so you can eat a ton of carbs, and everything, just like the most simple things in life just seem more beautiful. You know, the sun has never seen, you know, just so powerful. Wind never felt so refreshing. Fire never seemed so tantalizing. So the most simple conversations just seem so in depth. It just really makes you present and grounded and appreciate the beauty and simplicity. So I drank and I had a beautiful day. You know, experienced all those things that I talked about. Had some amazing conversations with people. And then a little before dinner time, I went inside the house and there's a bunch of people laying down by the fire, out by the fireplace outside. And actually, let me reverse to that. Before I went inside, there was a fire outside. It was just starting to get dark out, and there were some women surrounding a fire. And I went over there just to see what was going on. And they were having kind of like a really strong like women's empowerment movement. You know, some of the women had some issues with their mothers and their grandmothers. So they were like burning things in honor of their, you know, the women in their lives. Like one of the girls, she had this picture of her grandmother and she wanted to release her. And she just said, you know, like, this is for my grandmother who felt like she lost her purpose in life when she lost her beauty. and this other girl had this like beautiful rose, and she threw it in and burnt it, and she said, you know, I want to release this rose from feeling it has to be so perfect. You know, for all of us women who feel like we have to be perfect and we have to be beautiful to be accepted and be loved. And I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there, I was like, oh fuck, I'm out of place right here. Like, I'm the only guy standing around here, and I'm like, like, I feel like I'm awkward. So I go inside, and one of my healers that I've worked with for the last 2.5 years was there, and so I was sitting next to her talking to her, and one of the other women next to me was like, I was sitting in that chair, she's like, just come lay down. So I laid down, and the next thing I know, I just got this overwhelming urge to just break down in tears, like ugly cry, like screaming cry. And so I started just crying, like just letting it out, these deep sobs. And all these people, you know, some of the people in the house came over. The gentleman who owns the property that we stayed at, I've met him multiple times, and me and him have made a great connection. So he came and laid to me. And next thing I know, the tears turn into just like anger and like just fear. And next thing I know, I started going into like the Bufo experience of like needing to go through this death. And it became very dark and very fucking painful. And I was just like, things were just fucking coming out of me. As you can see, my eyes, and I'm gonna show you my chest, like broken blood vessels everywhere from like this hemorrhaging experience. So like I said in Bufo, like you literally die. It's like, at least every time I've done it, you stop breathing and you have to allow yourself to choke to death and suffocate and die. But I was like going through that and releasing fucking, like, it was just like I was hemorrhaging, like, like fucking, like trying to push shit from my fucking toes out of my fucking head. So much so that like I fucking shit myself, I pissed myself. It was the worst pain I've ever felt, emotional, physical pain I've ever felt. I thought that Bufo experience was intense. This was times 1,000. And I got so close to that point of that total death, that total surrender. And I just came out. I don't know what the fuck happened. And I was just fucking just totally fucked up. Like literally laying there on this poor guy's fucking living room carpet, and I just shit myself and fucking pissed myself. And you know, all these people around there, they're just so loving and so supportive. So they grab me some clothes and I go get in the shower. Leading into the retreat, about 8 weeks before that, I decided for the first time in my life, I'm gonna let my shit grow out. I'm gonna let my hair grow out. I'm gonna let my beard grow out. I didn't trim anything for 2 months. And those who didn't know me, I am this like clean cut, super OCD guy. I don't go anywhere without my hair done. Always pretty much clean shaven, or even if I do have a scruff, it's lined up all the time. And I just decided I wanted to try to surrender and see what would happen. It was part of just this growth phase of mine. Well, I walk in the bathroom and I look in the mirror. I take my shirt off, and there I was, broken blood vessels all from my face, my eyes looking like this, my hair was a fucking absolute mess. I looked like fucking Tom Hanks in Castaway on my face, and it was the ugliest I've ever seen myself. And immediately I think back and I was like, holy fuck. There I was thinking I was so out of place by the fire when these women talking about having to hold themselves to this beauty standard. And that's something that I've allowed to control me my whole life. My whole life since I was a kid. I always had to look good, no matter what. Could not leave the house without looking good. And it's just fucking crazy that my decision 8 weeks ago culminated to that moment of not only me needing to see myself at my worst, but all these people that I don't know to see me at what I thought was the ugliest I've ever seen myself. And it was just like a what the fuck moment. So I shower, I think it's all over, and we get called in the urn. Now the urn is this big circular teepee looking thing, and that's where we do ceremony. They wanted to play some music before we broke to dinner. And so I walk in to the urn, I get in there, and I go sit down. And then all of a sudden the medicine just starts talking to me. And not like in a verbal, physical sense, but like, you know what it's fucking saying. You know that energy that you feel within your body. And it was pretty much telling me that I had to experience this again. It was gonna be even worse. And everybody needed to witness it. No matter how I tried to fight it. I walked outside, tried going for a walk. I was just trying to distract myself, and it just kept pulling me in, and there was no way I was getting out of this. Now there is. I could have fought it, but for what? What is it trying to do to me? What is it trying to teach me? You know, if it's trying to make me do something, it's for my own betterment in the long haul. So I go grab the gentleman who owns the property, who's been by my side that whole time, and I tell him, like, I gotta do this again. And it's telling me it's gonna be fucking even worse than before. And everybody needs to witness this. And I can't find a way around it. And he's like, all right. He's like, we're about to break for dinner, but let me just see if everybody's willing to stay. So I go in and they talk to everybody. There's a group of like 20 people plus 5 facilitators. And he lets everybody know what's about to happen, because a lot of people weren't inside when I went through my first experience. Now I'm telling you, I had like 3-4 people trying to hold me down inside. That's how intense it was. So I go in there and just fucking anxiety just overwhelmed me. I'm like, I'm a fucking grown man, and I fucking just break down crying. Literally, I was like, I don't want to fucking go through this. I don't want to fucking experience. I do not want to fucking do this. Like I was so scared, just so beyond fucking scared to have to fucking go through this, because I know how much that pain was before, and what it was telling me was that was fucking nothing what I was gonna have to face next. So I kept fucking delaying it, just like trying to fucking get the courage to face this. And finally I'm like, the only path is through. You know, that's it. If I want to be the human that I want to be, you know. So I lay down. They got fucking boards strapped down between my legs. Like, I got 6 people around me, fucking 18 other people watching. And I start going through it, and it starts going really painful, and then I just get fucking scared, and I pull out. And I'm just like fucking freaking out. Literally, I just stand up, I just fucking scream like, fuck! And I just fucking throw a blanket. I'm just like, just so fucking like scared and nervous about going through this. So the gentleman, Mark, he's not even a facilitator. Him and his wife, they're in the community. They're both energy workers, but they're not facilitators. And he's just an amazing man. He comes up and he's like, Brad, he's like, what if instead of surrendering to pain, you try to surrender to love? And I'm like, Mark, you don't understand. Like, it's telling me it has to be painful. It has to be painful. He's like, you write your own narrative, Brad. He's like, just try it. Just try to surrender to love. Just keep telling yourself how much you love yourself, and really fucking mean it. Really fucking mean it. So, I lay down and I keep trying to get these like positive, loving thoughts in my head. And it just kept being a little more painful and painful and painful. And finally I hit a point where it just starts becoming a little more peaceful. And I'm just like, you know, like I'm just trying to learn how to relax and just trying to surrender and just trying to release and just trying to fill myself with all this love. And yeah, finally it was, I mean, I still had to experience his death, which isn't a fun experience, but it was a blissful death experience. I didn't have to go through that fucking crazy pain that I went through before. So that ends, we go get food, and the rest of the night I just have this like emptiness inside of me, and just scared. Like, I'm a grown ass man, you know, and like I remember just like walking back to my to the hut I was sleeping in, and like just being fucking afraid of everything. Like my head's like on a fucking stool. I got a flashlight and just looking around, like so afraid of like just getting attacked or whatever. And I couldn't figure it out. And so they set up a little spot for me to sleep in the house, in the living room, so I didn't have to be alone. Cause like I was in this fucking like cool ass looking thing by myself, like in the woods. So they laid a little mat on the floor and made me up a little place to stay. And he's got these 3 badass dogs, and this one, they're all fucking sweethearts, but they're out there on the farm to like chase off fucking mountain lions and shit. So they're fucking badass dogs. So Bruno laid by my side, but I couldn't fall asleep because I was like, every time I'd start to like fall asleep, I would start to experience that, like I need to go through that death-like experience again. And it just like, so it fucking freaked me out. So I did not sleep a fucking wink that night. Whole next day, Monday, I just feel really empty and like very vulnerable, scared. So in integration, you know, we all meet as a group at the very end and kind of just talk a little about our experiences, and each one of the healers kind of give us a little advice of, you know, what we went through and kind of what to look forward to, you know, or look out for as we go through our healing process. And, you know, it's a really good experience because you might hear someone else says about their experience, about their healing, that kind of triggers something in you and makes you realize what you went through. So I was really fucking confused of why I went through this on San Pedro, a heart opener. But then it made sense because you know, I've just never really loved myself. As a kid, I've just held myself to the highest standard, and I never thought I was worthy of love. I never, for who I am, I thought that I always had to achieve in order to receive love and to be validated. So nothing I ever did was ever good enough for me. You know, and it just really, I just released so much fucking anger and so much hatred within myself. And that's what it was. It just needed to open my heart up to myself. And kind of like the healers were saying, that like that emptiness that I'm feeling and that scaredness that I'm feeling is because I released so much of that hatred, you know, that it's left this void within me that needs to be filled with love that isn't there yet. And the fear and being scared is because I use that anger and that hatred in myself to protect myself, to get through life. And I don't have that right now. And that's why I feel that way, and it's carried over. I mean, I've been afraid to fucking even go to sleep at night. Not to go to sleep, like, I feel like I'm fucking 8 years old again. I turned my lights off the last 2 nights, and I fucking sprint and dive underneath my covers because I'm just so fearful. And I just have this like void, this emptiness, but it's a good fucking emptiness. It's a good void. And I just need to make sure that I fill it the right way. So yeah, that was, and I know this shit sounds crazy, and most people are gonna listen to this and like, why the fuck would anybody do this stuff? I'll tell you right now, man, I'll take a fucking walk through hell any fucking day to live a life of love and happiness. And as much shit as I've been through in the last 2.5 years by doing the medicine and all the crazy stories and everything, I am such a different human being this day than when I started. And I'm so grateful for the healers that I work with, the community that I'm surrounded by, and for finding this. And, you know, my best friend growing up, Josh, I told you guys a story about how he moved out here to be the GM of my facility, which my investors walked away in January. His life has been kind of a mess. And my friends who he worked for sent him to Rhythmia, which is an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. And surprisingly enough, he got back on Sunday. So he was doing the medicine all last week. And he came back and I just saw a different human. He's been at the gym the last 4 days in a row. And he had kind of given up on himself. He quit smoking cigarettes and vape. And like he said, you know, he was very hesitant about doing this stuff. And him coming back, and he just said, the whole world needs to fucking do this, because the whole world would be a much more loving, compassionate, more beautiful place. So my journey's not over. You know, my growth and healing isn't over. It never ends. But this was definitely one of the most transformative. I've been having issues with my mom. And my mom was my best friend my whole life. Single mom, only child. And when I went through a lot of my healing in the last 2 years, my relationship with my mother got worse, because I love my mother to death, but my mother had a rough life, a rough childhood, and my mother just had to be a very strong woman all the time. And that strength can be a little overpowering at times. And, you know, everything to her is a knife fight. And before I went through this, I was able to deal with that because I had my own protective mechanisms. I would fight back, I would cut back. And that just doesn't serve me anymore. So the last year or so, my mother hasn't changed and I can't expect her to change, but I've softened and I don't have those protective mechanisms to help me through that. So things my mother do and say just really fucking hurt me. And yeah, it's one of the things that I just so badly wanted a better relationship with my mom. And I called her on my drive home and kind of explained to her what happened on the retreat. And, you know, and I had a lot of really good words of wisdom from other people that have been dealing with issues with their parents. And, you know, the biggest thing that was just driven home to me was, you know, you just have to forgive them. They were doing the best that they could with what they know, and we can't expect them to change. All we can do is love them, no matter what. And, you know, when I was telling my mom, like, everything I've been through and explaining, you know, another thing that I've told you guys about is my major eating disorder. I've been a binge eater, bulimic since I was a kid. And this came from a place of that desire to have family, because being an only child and a single mom, and like every Sunday we'd go to my aunt and uncle's house, and there'd be like 20 of us, and it was the happiest day of my week. It was the thing I look forward to the most. And there'd be all this amazing food. So my whole life I've filled this void with food, this emptiness that I've had. My mother didn't understand it. And, you know, I tried to explain to her, you know, what I went through and how I've never loved myself and how I never felt loved. And she always took that as an indictment against her as a mother. And, you know, finally I was able to break it down to her that, like, this isn't an indictment against you. You were an amazing mother. She was a fucking amazing mother. And I was loved. I was cherished. I was the baby boy of the family. But for some reason, I just didn't feel that way. And it has nothing to do against anybody. It's just whatever it was, one moment, whatever it is, it's just, it creates in your mind how you perceive life. And that was my perception. Finally I got her to break through and realize that, you know, my healing has nothing to do with her. It has to do with me, myself. And for the first time in a long time, like, I'm so looking forward to going to Christmas, spending time with my family. You know, I used to be anxious about going home, especially the last 2 years, because it would trigger me and put me in a state of depression. But, you know, I really think that this last weekend for me is gonna drastically help my relationship with my mother and the rest of my family. And I just can't wait to see everybody just feel love. Just feel their love and truly accept it. And then on the binge eating thing. So every night I fucking binge eat. I don't always purge, but there was a long time, especially after my divorce, I was in a bad fucking place and food was the only thing I had. And I would binge eat and purge fucking probably like 4 or 5 nights a week. And smoking weed kind of perpetuated that, because I would just numb myself every night. I would get home, I had the same routine. I'd work all day, get home, make a meal, numb myself with weed, and just sit down with a fucking table full of food and just keep eating for like 3 hours every night. And since I got back, I haven't had the urge to smoke. I haven't binge ate. I know it's only 3 days in, but that's the longest time I've ever fucking done it. Since I started smoking weed in 2012. 3 days is the longest time I've ever gone without it. So I hope this sticks, and I hope that I can continue to fill myself with love, so I can fill that void right now with the proper things. And I know I have a lot of people in my life that love me, and I just need to lean on them for a little while and continue to take care of myself. But again, I'm just so grateful, so thankful for everything that's led to this moment here. I know, as crazy as everything sounds, and as fucked up as I look right now, I'd do it 1,000,000 times over to be where I am and who I am today. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys find your way.